Okay, there are a lot of mysteries in life, we realize that, but perhaps one of the greatest mysteries that has stumped humankind for all time is how in the world do you actually build good credit? Brian Fryer is here with TVFCU. They bring us these Know Your Dough segments. He's the mortgage sales manager with the credit union, but we're going to talk a little bit about building credit, establishing credit, and the rubric, really, for how you get a good credit score.
Yeah, and like you were saying, it is kind of a big mystery. A lot of people always ask me. It's probably one of the hottest topics of conversation when I go out and speak to the public and meet individuals in the public about what makes up credit and why do you have to have good credit. Right. And in the mortgage world, we call it the 3 C's: your credit, your capacity, and your collateral. Collateral being the home that you're buying or the property you're buying. The capacity is going to be your income, how you can qualify. But credit is a third of that. It's a big part of it. So knowing how to build a good credit score, what can qualify for. Having a good credit score too is going to qualify you for the best interest rates out there too.
Right. Okay, let's talk a little bit to the folks though before we get into the formula of what to do, and we will give that to you, by the way. If you've had any kind of normal life in America, you probably had times where your credit wasn't so good.
Yes, that does happen, and it's unfortunate, but you know it's common. We see it all the time. I've been in the mortgage industry about 25 years now, and you see, some people, you see their credit. You can kind of see a story. Sometimes they might hit a rough patch. One of the difficult things about credit is if you do hit that rough patch and it does hit your credit, it's going to take some time to repair that. So anytime something's negative that shows up, you want to, the further you get away from that negative aspect on your credit and rebuild, make your payments on time, it's going to improve your credit score over time. Managing that debt, that's really what the credit bureaus, the credit scores are looking at, is how you manage debt.
Right. So you mentioned the good interest rate. You're going to have a better interest rate with the higher credit score. That's really, really big, especially now because interest rates are high anyway. Yeah,
interest rates are higher, compared to the lows we saw 2 or 3 years ago. But in your credit score, they talk about target rates where you want to be. Generally, when we look at things, if you're above a 760 credit score, you're going to get the best rates out there anyway. Whether it's a car loan or it's going to be unsecured debt, credit cards, or a mortgage, which is very important. Once you're below that, it can depend. What type of loan you're doing. If your credit score is in the 600s, you want to try to work on it and try to improve it. Get it better. Sometimes people will come to us or other mortgage lenders and say, "Hey, I want to buy a house right now." We'll look at their credit and say, you might could qualify right now. You may have to put more money down. Your interest rate's going to be a lot higher. If you want to work on your credit, you might be better suited maybe in 6 to 12 months from now sometimes.
Right.
So we do counsel people like that and let them know, what their options are.
If you have multiple debts, and most people do, is it a good idea though to consolidate into one payment? Is that ever helpful? Like, let's say you have 2 or 3 little piddly credit cards. Is it good to consolidate into one?
It can be, especially if you can get a better interest rate, and plus it'll maybe cut your monthly outgo too. And that can help you too in the long run.
Let's get into the formula here, and both of us are going to have to look at our notes because even for Brian's expertise, he's got to make sure. But you say that when you're looking at your credit score, and we kind of showed that a minute ago, there are different percentages for the different lines, right?
Yep. And you're like your payment history, that's as shown about 35%. Payment history is how you pay your payment on time. And generally, if you make it within 30 days, you don't want to go over more than say if there's a late payment or anything like that. You want to pay it on time. If it's due on the 1st, try to get your payment in the 1st or earlier. If it's due on the 15th, get it on the 15th. Where it hits your credit is if you go over 30 days or more, it will mark against your credit.
Okay.
If you go 60 days or more, it's an even bigger mark.
I'm going to pause you for a second, but is that true for even non-interest bearing accounts? Like, let's say it's a medical debt. Is the same thing true?
No, it's not going to be the same thing as true in that. Now that can show up generally as a collection or something like that.
Okay.
And changes have been made in the laws as far as reporting on medical debt. A lot of times now, some medical debt won't be reported on the credit bureaus now.
Okay, when you say capacity amount owed, is that the percentage of your limit? Like if you have a $5,000 limit?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, you have a $5,000 limit and you have $4,999 owed on that say it's a credit card or some type of revolving account, then that can impact your scores too in the negative because you've maxed out that credit.
Would that be the case though only if that's the situation at the time of checking your credit? Like suppose you have a five.
Yes. Yep.
So if you needed to get a part for your car and you used your credit card, but then you paid it off, that's fine.
Yeah. What credit report, when the credit report is pulled, it's a snapshot of what the credit looks like at that time it's pulled. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So you can pay down the debt and improve your credit scores. Having a line of credit open, say a $5,000 line of credit, but a zero balance, that's going to look good on your credit. It shows that you manage your debt. If you have a small balance on it, again, it's a positive. You want to, and I hate to say this, you have to go into debt sometimes to create those credit scores.
Right.
Because what they're looking at is a history of how you make your payments on time.
And so that's where the length of credit comes into play because you have to have shown it for a little while.
Correct. We always say for people that are building credit, at the credit union we offer what we call share secured loans. They can deposit money into an account and borrow against that. And it's a share secured, so it's a share of their money that they're borrowing against. And we always recommend 13, 14, 16 months to build a history right there. And that's for a young person, say if they're in college or something like that, they want to build credit. That's a great way to do it because they're borrowing their own money. The interest rates are super low. Same thing with a car loan too. If you take it over 12, 24, 36 months, the longer the term generally you're making that payment, it reflects that you know how to handle making a payment each month.
So, for example, my daughter heads off to college this August. If I did that shared secured for her, because she'll get solicited times 1,000 from people, if I put $1,000 in there and just said, okay, Meg, that's your money, and then as she uses it, we pay it back.
Correct. She'll actually get that money back or get that money, and then she can make payments each month. And what that does is it reflects on the credit bureau, hey, I have a new loan set up with TVFCU, a share secured loan. That's an installment loan, which will help your credit even more. So it's a great way to build credit. A lot of credit unions offer that, including TVFCU.
So before I let you run, and I have to let you go, here are your magic numbers. If you're above a 760, you're excellent. If you're between 700 and 759, you're still in good shape. You're kind of in that C range if you're 650 to 699, and then below that, talk to them at the credit union and let them put you on some paths to get that credit score built up, and then you too will be a 760.
We can give you some tips on what you need to pay off, what you need to clear up, and possibly if you need to take out additional debt to help build that credit. We can help you out with that.
TVFCU.com, that's your resource because they're always wanting you to know your dough. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.